Abdul Carter's likely going to go top 3, maybe top 4. The Patriots hold that number 4 selection right now, and he's visiting Mike Vrabel's team today. But the Browns and the Giants both picking ahead of the New England Patriots. So if they don't trade up, they might not have a chance to get him. Our Mike Renner has the Giants taking him at 3, along with, get this, 2 running backs in the first 100 picks. Quinshon Judkins out of Ohio State and Cam Skattebo out of Arizona State. What a crazy story that was last year in the playoff. Let's get Douzable in here to talk edge rushers. You're going to rank your top 5, and it doesn't necessarily reflect our rankings at CBSSports.com, but at the very top, it's a no-brainer with Abdul Carter, right?
Without a doubt. I mean, he is freakishly athletic. When you talk about a guy that has twitchiness and bendability, and when I say bendability, the ability to get on the edge and bend and not get washed past the quarterback. The thing that's so crazy about Abdul Carter, you get these comparisons about Mykel Parsons because they both played off-ball linebacker, and then we saw Mykel Parsons make that transition to the edge. Abdul Carter was dominant on the edge, and this was his first time playing on the edge. So a guy that can really jump out of his stance. He has the lower body strength to bend that edge and get to quarterbacks. And then I talked about the position flexibility. You can line him up anywhere on the line of scrimmage because we see what Mykel Parsons does for the Cowboys. They line him up in that A-gap between the center and guard. And because he's so athletic and because he's so quick, he can beat centers and guards, and that's what Abdul Carter did at Penn State. You see it right there. Look at the different positions he's played. Going back to 2022 and 2023, then last year they moved him all around on the field because he has a skill set that is like none other. You're right, Haz. It's not even a close competition. He's the #1 edge guy in this class.
And when you're looking at the odds to be the #1 overall pick, he is the second shortest favorite at 20-1, though it's likely going to be Cam Ward going to the Tennessee Titans. Your #2 ranked pass rusher, a guy that maybe not a lot of people know about because he played in the Sun Belt last season.
But he was dominant. He led the nation with 17.5 sacks, and that's Mike Green. And an interesting thing, when you look at Mike Green, he just has a pro mindset. The way he approaches the game, he's almost like a chess player, the way he sets moves up. It all starts with speed on the edge. He has elite get-off, which puts offensive tackles in binds. Then he has the power in the strong lower half to go speed the power. And this play right here, this is what epitomizes him. He's an effort guy. You saw how he chased that running back down from the backside. Had the pleasure of calling one of Mike Green's games earlier this year. I sat down with his head coach, Charles Huff. He said, besides Mike Green, the only other player that went into this process and was humble and didn't change, that had the success that he had, was Saquon Barkley. Anytime you're put in the realm of Saquon Barkley, lets you know that you're a special player. He's going to help your team day one, not only in the pass rush game, but he's going to be a culture changer in the locker room and on the field.
I compared your list to the consensus list at CBSSports.com, and there were some similarities, obviously, but #3 was the biggest difference here. And this is a guy who we barely had in our top 10 at CBSSports.com. Why do you believe Donovan Ezeiruaku out of Boston College is better than that?
Yeah, we have to have a meeting about who's making this consensus list because this guy is a straight baller. 16.5 sacks. Mike Green was the only guy that had more sacks than him. He's just a slippery rusher, has a nice counter inside move. I know people were worried about him in the run defense, but as the season went on, he played really well against the run. Just go back to that North Carolina game. As North Carolina has one of the best rushing offenses. Obviously, they have Omarion Hampton at running back, and he was dominant not only in the pass rush game, but in the run game. Again, a slippery blocker, just knows. You see him right here with the spin move inside. He gets the sack, but he just knows how to take away that punching surface from offensive tackles. He flips his hips really well, fluid in his hips to bend the edge and get to the quarterback. I think he's going to be a guy from day one that helps you on third down packages and turns into a really good starter for a long time.
I'll let the website guys know that you're looking for him and you want to have a talk about these edge rusher rankings. Let's get to #4. It's Nick Scourton, who had a monster year at Purdue a couple of years ago, led the Big Ten in sacks, then went to A&M. The numbers came down a little bit, but Lige, that top line speaks for itself. First team All-SEC.
Yeah, you talked about it, Has. Didn't have as much production with A&M, but he also played with a lot better defensive line at A&M, so those guys were making plays too. But his game is based on physicality and effort. You see it right there, screenplay. See him how he gets out to the numbers and gets that tackle for loss right there. But it all starts with physicality. He's probably the most physical edge setter in all this draft. When you try to run the ball his way, Has, good luck. He knocks the offensive tackle 6 yards back in the backfield, and he gets tackles for losses. He's also a very savvy player. So if you try to overreach him, he's just going to go underneath the block and make a tackle for loss. He's a guy that kind of reminds me of Brandon Graham. They have the same type of body structure. He's low, built to the ground, strong legs, physical guy at the line of scrimmage. Again, Nick Scourton game is based off of physicality. He's going to be another good player.
And he got that first team All-SEC nod over your number 5 guy, a name that we know well because he was a performer for Georgia the last several years. It's Mykel Williams. How do you see his game translating?
Yeah, and the interesting thing about the last two guys I'm talking about, Has, they're only 20 years old. So the upside is significant there. And Mykel Williams, at times at Georgia, they kind of played him out of position. They played him in the inside eye of that offensive tackle. I think his best position is going to be outside as a prototypical 4-3 edge guy. Now, he does have the versatility to kick inside and rush the passer because he's 6'5", 260 pounds, but has 34 3/8 arm length. So he has very long arms to get offensive tackles off balance, knock them back, play with good extension. Again, has a high upside because he's so young. You see, that was his best game versus Texas. You see, he had an ankle injury earlier in the year, bounced back from that, had a spring in his step versus Texas. He's the guy, again, high upside, only 20 years old. Kind of reminds me of Trayvon Walker, a guy that came out a few years ago from Georgia.
That's Douzable, former edge rusher himself in the NFL, and now ranking them here for us at 1 through 10. We didn't hit everybody, but Shamar Stewart is another guy he's really high on, along with Elijah Roberts out of SMU. We got the draft coming up a week from Thursday. That's the first round. Friday, rounds 2 and 3, and then Saturday, everything else. With the First Pick podcast, right now they are still in the process of going through each and every team and doing a full 7-round mock draft.
Wow.
When you need your sports news all the time,
We've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you.
Big news coming out of the NFL. A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
With highlights
What a finish at the final round of play.
and in-depth analysis.
Can they three-peat? Tony Romo joins the conversation.
What can you say about this game?
When you need your sports in a snap,
We're bringing you that breaking news right here on HQ.
find it on CBS Sports HQ. Streaming free anywhere you are.